So here we have Overgrowth for our first map. It's going to be some great times. It's going to be some awesome times. I'm hyper. I'm happy. I'm very excitable. Just ate a lot of food, so that kind of energy's hitting my system now. And it was a ton of pasta, so I should keep that energy all night. Anyway, spawning down in the bottom left-hand position, we have a purple Terran player representing Millennium. It is DieStar. And his opponent to the top right, the green Terran player representing N-Breed, Ascending. N-Breed, of course, stands for New Breed. It's spelled N-U, not N-E-W. And this is going to be some fun TvT action. Especially since it is a best of 3. Makes me happy. I remember it wasn't last season, but at some point there was qualifiers for WCS where the first couple of rounds were best of 1, and that made everyone sad. But back then, the brackets were open, and they were big. It was like a 1028 bracket, whereas this game is going to be the round of 256. So, all pretty steady there. Now, in terms of strategy and TvT, we're going to be getting some fun stuff and a bit of a mix-up already. DieStar, he opened with his racks before his gas. That means Reapers are a good option and a good shout, but Ascending, he went Refinery, then into his barracks. That means he's got more gas. Going to be able to start up a factory way quicker, and that's going to be some cool times for him. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he gets Hellions out. He should get a couple of Marines just to be able to fend off the Reaper in case it comes, but Hellions deal a lot better with Reapers than Reapers deal with Hellions. So going to be interesting to see how these two interact in the early game, what pans out, and generally who's going to get the little early game advantages. This SCV is so mean from DieStar.
Upgrade.
Drilling a fellow SCV in the back. Not nice. Anyway, factory on its way down now. Reaper just about to pop. He's going to take out this poor little SCV that's scouting. Second Reaper is on its way out, so it's a bit more of a commitment from DieStar. Meanwhile, Ascending has his factory about 2/3 done now. He's adding in a second Marine, which he's going to be using to try and thwart the attempts of this Reaper to kill all the workers, but that's all good. Should be easily achieved. A couple of Marines will be able to stop the Reaper, but if there's more Reapers coming through, and especially if this SCV buffers up a bit of damage for him, it can actually be pretty efficient. So the Marines pulling back now, but good prioritization, good focus fire. Remember, the Reaper heals up a hell of a lot quicker than these Marines do, so by actually damaging them, he gets a nice little win. But Hellion on its way out, that's going to help stop things. There's also the Starport coming through, so going to be getting a lot quicker tech. But DieStar, he's got his natural base already on its way. That is a big advantage on the natural, and means that his economy is going to be looking a lot better in the not so near future. Okay, so what are these Hellions going to get up to? What are these Marines, and of course the suspected medevac, going to be throwing out? Harassment is what they're going to be aiming for. Meanwhile, DieStar, he's adding in that second gas, adding in the factory, and his command center's nearly done. Scaring away that Reaper, killing it as it goes down, thanks to the flame there from the Hellion. It looks like we're getting an unfortunate little bit of lag now from one of these two players, which is always a bit of a shame. Makes me a sad caster, but hopefully it'll all fix up and we don't have to remake, because that would be a bad omen for the start of this game. So just keeping an eye on exactly when DieStar either gets back in or doesn't. Hopefully it won't be too long. That's probably the most important thing, is that if it gets down to 0, he's probably had a DC or something, which would be very much a shame. So definitely hoping that isn't what's going to be happening here. But as those seconds start ticking down, it looks more and more likely that we're going to have to remake. Remake isn't the end of the world though, because of course Blizzard, in their genius and brilliance, is able to add in beautiful features like Recover Game. So, oh, he comes back with only a second to go. That was pretty cool, so we don't have to remake. DieStar just wanting to take all the time in the world about that, but it's cool. It's his prerogative to do so. Two Hellions now on their way through for DieStar, but he's going to have to contend with a much larger force. And with the medevac coming through, there's a high probability that we're going to see Ascending drop into the main base and then pressure into the natural. Or we can just drop everything into the main. This supply depot is super important. It gives DieStar a bit of early warning and actually prevents Ascending from dropping everything into his main base. So, without it being realized, of course. DieStar, he's also got a Viking coming out first. This is going to help force away the medevac and more likely prevent a retreat should Ascending decide to push all the way through. But that Viking, it's a fair way off. Only about half done. Needs to buy himself another, well, 15 odd seconds. But the medevac, it's already here. It's ready and waiting. Fair few Marines, fair few Hellions though. Running on forward. And that medevac decides, oh no, not going to go for this one. I would not trade particularly well. So all in all, this early game at about the 7-minute mark, we've got a fair advantage for DieStar thanks to this earlier orbital command. He's up by what is now 3 SCVs, but he's had the earlier mule. I think he's actually had 2 mules potentially through in this time, or will get 2 mules through before his opponent's orbital command of the natural is done. That's a big lead, it's a good advantage, and it's one that DieStar is going to be looking to capitalize upon as we go forward in this game. Behind this, Ascending adding in a tank, but a great scan from DieStar is going to see the tech lab and know that this is likely to be coming. Also sees the tech lab on the starport. And while sometimes this can lead into Banshee, such as what DieStar's doing, in the case of Ascending, he's instead opting for the Raven. So, DieStar moving across the map now. Ascending sees all these Hellions, but he's like, darn medevac, not quick enough. You've got rocket boosters and he's still not keeping up with just some little wheels. The medevac trying to find a way to come through, but the Viking doing an awesome job of shutting it down, chasing it out, and without any boost, it's going to fall. That is a huge loss there. Army supply plummeting now for Ascending, and DieStar 35 to 19. However, I would like to introduce you all to the Siege Tank, a beautiful unit that is going to stop ground-based pushes fairly effectively because of the splash, because of the damage, and the Hellions will need to be a little bit cautious. There's also the Raven, which grants detection, prevents this Cloak Banshee from getting any of his sneaky shenanigans down, but it does draw a lot of this army out of position. DieStar doesn't want to commit to that push, but takes some losses anyway. Overall though, this is been more losses for Ascending because of that medevac that was completely full, dying earlier. Third CC on its way out now for Ascending, so he's trying to catch up that economic lead. DieStar is a little behind in that third CC, but the difference not as great as on the natural base timing. So overall, economically, as long as they stay and take the actual third bases at a similar time, this is going to be very close. And DieStar probably will have his economy leveled out a bit, but still slightly up. 44 to 39 SCVs at the moment, both players meching it up for the most part, and this means we're going to get an awesome TvT. Mech on mech, great fun to watch. Positioning so important, and with the Hellbats, we get some very interesting dynamics starting to occur. Neither player yet having researched those servo upgrades, transformation servos, allowing the Hellions to become Hellbats, but Ascending now scans and sees, yep, that is a lot of factories, you are going mech too. Blue Flame on its way down, and that is a very important thing to add in, because Blue Flame allows you to just deal so much more damage to your opponent's Hellions, and it also allows you to start working through their worker line should they leave it vulnerable to attack. DieStar though, the one with all the map control, he's holding this out nicely, whereas Ascending, unfortunately for him, sitting back and is just like, well, I know out to here. It's only one Marine, I'll be fine. Just that one lone Marine. Not like anything's going to try and kill me anytime soon. There's a lot of Hellions. The tanks, not sieged, but there are 4 of them. 4 tanks are going to be a little bit of a problem, especially when DieStar at the moment is only at the 1. Needs to be careful with his positioning. 4 siege tanks can cause a lot of problems. Another lone Marine gets burned to death rather than just the orbital command squishing him, because health and safety for Terrans is of utmost importance, even for the enemy. And if there's a little Marine underneath your orbital, you can't land. That would just be cruel. So both of these two taking their third bases at a ridiculously similar time. And that's good. Means that economically they're in a fairly equal spot. The fractional advantage for ascending gives him like a couple of additional workers, which he has caught up with. He's been continually producing SCVs, whereas DieStar did actually cut SCV production for a brief amount of time. Blue Flame about to be done for ascending. For DieStar, ascending already has it. Loving this sensor tower. It's just alerting him that, okay, there's a decent number of units running about, and this gives him ample time to reposition the tanks should a big push be coming in from the right or from the left. So this sensor tower, as far as I'm concerned, is a really smart move. And DieStar agrees, positioning is slightly differently, a bit more over to the right, and that's just due to where a lot of the army is sitting. For ascending, it's sitting more to the left, or at least, or was sitting more to the left, so defending the third, so he wanted to keep more of an eye on the natural entrance, whereas for DieStar, it's the other way round. 1-1 mech upgrades coming down for both players, but this is where ascending has a massive lead. He's up at +1 already, about 120 seconds odd quicker than we see DieStar getting in. But DieStar, he's got an advantage in the overall army supply, up at 109 to 75, and in mech, size really does matter. If you get a bigger army out, you're gonna trade really well. The siege tank count, though, sitting in favour of ascending. Where DieStar's getting the lead is in the Hellion numbers and also the Hellbat numbers. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. The Hellbats waddling their way across. No transformation servos, meaning they can't quickly get a speed boost by becoming Hellions, or vice versa. But nice scans coming down. DieStar getting a quick little peek at what is on his way. Ascending, pressuring forward. Viking count, 10 for DieStar, 8 to ascending. But DieStar has two, ascending rather has two sitting back at home. I believe all of DieStars are coming across the map now. But this is still equal times. Thor production starting up now for ascending. That's not crazy, but it's cool. Good, it's coming through. Missile turret walls for both players, very important. It's going to allow them to try and prevent drops and prevent Banshee and stuff coming in while their armies are being aggressive. One Hellion poking around for ascending, looking to get some scouting information. But we'll note the biggest difference so far this game is that DieStar is taking way more command centers. His fourth base is already down. He's got 3 additional command centers in production. He's got more pretty much everywhere. At grand total, he's sitting at 3 orbitals, 2 additional command centers with 2 more on the way. Whereas ascending is sitting with 3 orbitals. Oh, never mind. Big engagement coming through here. The tanks sieging up. A quicker siege for ascending. But remember, the Hellion numbers favoring DieStar. He's pushing forward, and thanks to his Hellions tanking this up, a decisive ground victory comes through. The air battle is a lot closer, but still swinging into DieStar's favor. And DieStar now starting to push forward. He's up by about 20 army supply. Just got to contend with the Thors at the back, but all of his tanks are alive. GG is called, and DieStar takes game number 1 of this best of 3.